Hello, everyone. We are officially live here, and this is another edition of the Travel the World as a Speaker show. And I'm your host, Phylecia Jones. And tonight we're going to talk about how to prep your mental game, because what we're talking about when it comes to wanting to get on stage as a speaker and also trying to leverage that to travel, you got to get in a mental great game, because a lot of us think that we can just wake up and make this happen, and yeah, it doesn't really work that way. So this show is brought to you by iFind Clothes, where we actually go out and find and research and send you speaking opportunities so that you can take your chances and get on stage. So if you want to go check us out, go over to ifindclothes.com. And while you're there, why don't you go ahead and sign up for that free assessment to see if you can attract a few high paid speaking gigs. Now, here on the gram, I have been playing with all of the different filters that are over there. And this particular filter is a big old shout out to our LGBTQ plus community. We love you. Love you. And it's kind of cool that Instagram has a filter. So I think that is really cool. So hopefully everybody in the community is doing well and you're doing great. I'm going to go ahead and switch this back over because the things move with me. I know. Okay, now this one is funny. I really do love this one. No, it's this one. It's this one. I love this filter. It's the funniest. All right, let me go back to normal because my people over here on YouTube have no idea what's going on. So, all right, for my YouTube folks, I was playing with my Instagram. So we go to you live here. Our main hub is here on YouTube, where you can see the really cool graphics and you can watch the video at any time. Of course, you can join us here on Instagram and you can see what's going on. Now, I don't have a lot of intense graphics today. I'm going to check my sound, and my sound is really good. Yeah, I have to do all these sound checks and everything because, things break. All right, so we're gonna have a real talk about the mental game. Now, before we even get started, I don't have a travel story for you today because the show is Travel the World as a Speaker. So I try to incorporate a little bit of my travel stories into the fold because it's fun for me. And this is how I landed into the world of speaking, because I was able to leverage speaking so I can get on stage and travel the world. And that's why we talk about this. But I got to go back into my old self when we talk about math. Now, a lot of you may not know, but I have a degree in computer science and a master's in systems engineering. So I'm very much in the tech world. And I initially started off business as a money coach, talking about budgeting. Got educated on investing and all that kind of stuff. Today, there's a lot going on in the investing world. Wall Street versus the retail investor, Robinhood, class action lawsuits, people making money, people losing money. One thing I will definitely say when it comes to investing, when it comes to trading, make sure you take care of your money. Be careful of your money, okay? I'm not here to give you financial advice, and you probably shouldn't take financial advice from strangers on the internet. Duh. But you probably shouldn't take advice from strangers on the internet. But the one thing I will say about money, when it comes to investing, and I know a lot of people are trying to throw shade at investors versus day traders. To be honest, it's all kind of the same. You can send your hate toward me, but it's all basically the same. You shouldn't play around with money that you don't have. If you don't have this money to play with, don't do it. If you don't know what you're doing, go get educated before you start playing around with, especially if you're playing with borrowed money and shorting things. Woo, you might as well just go to Vegas and take you a pile of ones and just see what happens that night. But I just want to let you know, for all of you out there that's playing around in the stock market, I actually do. I don't manage my investments anymore. I did for a very, very long time. So I actually have somebody who does that for us in our house. But and I did take some time, and I took a little bit of cash and started playing around. But be careful. Be careful, okay? Don't, just be careful. Be careful with your cash. Same thing if you're traveling. Be careful with your cash, all right? All right, so that's it for the travel story. We're going to travel in your wallet. That's what we're going to do today. All right, so we're going to talk about tonight how to prep your mental game. Because we talk about so much when it comes to speaking, and so many of us, we see the glamorous side of speaking. You get to see the beautiful outfit on stage. You get the lights. You get all the fancy stuff. I mean, come on, who doesn't want all the fancy stuff when it comes to speaking? I mean, I can show you tons and tons of photos of what it looks like to get on these stage, have the beautiful lights, have people applaud you, and have the ovations, It's fun. It's contagious. You want more and more of it. But we got to get backwards, and we got to start talking about the journey to get to that point. Now, yesterday we did the math behind getting on stage, and I actually got a lot of a lot of good feedback on that one, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for doing this." And I think I'm gonna bring in a little bit more of my math side to you all, so we can talk more about the numbers behind speaking and tracking and all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if you're trying to grow your business, if you're trying to be a professional speaker, or even if you're trying to leverage speaking to market your business or to travel. We got to like kind of back up and look at the non-sexy side. Like my video yesterday, it wasn't very sexy because I was working all day trying to put together a few different talks for a few different communities. That's what it looks like. It ain't sexy all the time. And that's why I want to have this discussion with you today about the mental game, because it is hard sitting down and trying to pitch 150 events every day or every week or every month. It is hard. It is hard to just focus. It is hard to sit for 8 hours every day and focus on one thing. And I think I've told you all that when I was like in my zone of really, really like hardcore pitching, I would do it for 8 hours once a week. And that's all I did. I wouldn't talk to anybody. It's like from 8 to 5 and maybe until 6 o'clock. It is all I did was just focusing on that. And what I want to talk about today is a little bit of the mind game or the mental game that you kind of have to get into so that you can, stick with it, because it's so hard to give up. I mean, we've heard this. It is so hard to just say, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Or it's so hard to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for someone to go find these opportunities or make magic happen, when sometimes it comes down to you. You are your best salesperson. You are the best advocate for yourself at this moment. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you a couple of tips, and I have to let you know that I did try to get very fancy. I tried to get very fancy with some of my little screen pop-ups that's going to come over. So for those of you on Instagram, if you want to see my little blurbs that pop up on the screen, you have to come join us here on YouTube at ifindyouclothes.com/YouTube. And you probably can hear my chair squeaking because I'm on a stool that probably costs like $5. I'm just waiting for it to crash on me one day. All right, so let's get into how to prep your mental game. All right. So remember on Sunday, a few days ago, we talked about how to stay positive. That's going to pop up as well, because I really do want you to be in the right mindset when it comes to this. I also have some notes. Let's make sure I got my notes in place just in case I forget what I'm talking about. All right. So here's the first thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to your mental game. The first thing that you need to do is embrace where you are. And I talked about this a few days ago on how to stay positive. You need to embrace where you are at this exact moment. You can't worry about the future. You can't worry about the past, because what happens is we start worrying. We start, well, what if? And then I don't know if a lot of you have ever heard this where they say, a lot of people are scared of success because we talk ourselves out of it, because we think about, oh my gosh, if I do get on stage with Oprah, I'm going to like fall apart. So, I'm just not going to even try. We will talk ourselves out of a good thing. We can talk ourselves out of an opportunity. So that's why you need to focus on right now. At this exact moment. Don't worry about what happened in 2020. 2020 was just, it is what it is. Don't worry about 2019. If you have things that can benefit you from back then, bring it into right now. But for the most part, you need to embrace where you are at this exact moment. Wherever it is you are, embrace it. Focus on today. And this is going to be so key when it comes to staying in this game of looking for speaking gigs or pitching for speaking gigs or growing your business and looking for opportunities to travel. Yeah, you may get hit the success button like instantly, but it's all going to come back to this point where you're going to have to get into the game and figure out where you are so that you can keep going. And that's why I do like the embracing where you are right now. And we're seeing a lot of it. I mean, I know we're seeing it in our families and our friends who are very worried about everything that's going on with the pandemic, very worried about things that's going on with the stock market, very worried about things with politics, because yes, should you look toward the future? You absolutely should. But sometimes it just cripples us. And then when we're always backwards, when we're always looking backwards, we can't move forward. So one of the things I've even had to do was literally just put my head down and just work on what I'm working on. Because right now, here's the thing, all this other stuff, you can't control it. You can only control what you're doing right now. And if you said you want to go out here and get 72 speaking gigs this year, you want to get 12, you want to get 3 before the end of this month, which is just it was 4 days to 3 days, then you have to embrace where you are right now. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Embrace where you are right now. The second thing is develop journey goals, not outcome goals. Oh, okay. This is going to be a very difficult one. So what we do a lot, and I've done this. I've been guilty of this in business, and to be honest, it never worked for me. It has absolutely never worked for me. Creating goals has never worked for me. I don't know why. And I'm talking about in the traditional sense. So what we do, so here's an example of goals. And of course, if you have questions or comments, put them in the comment box. Now, when it comes to goals, a lot of us say, I want 5 gigs a month, and that will equate to 60 gigs at the end of this year. Okay, in 12 months. So now we have a goal. I want 60 speaking gigs. That is not a bad goal to have. If you have that, make sure you put it on there. Or if you have an income goal of, I want to make $100,000 by the end of this year. Have those goals. But what has worked for me was to create journey goals, because those other goals, those are outcomes. Those are outcomes. And what happens when we make these types of goals, and the problem for me, and I will just say this is for me, is that when we make these types of goals, we haven't figured out how we're actually going to get to that point. So that's why I have always made journey goals. Journey goals for me is I'm going to pitch 40 times every month, because that's something I can control. I may not be able to control the outcome because I need to track, and maybe not everybody wants me on stage, but what I can control is the amount of energy that I'm putting into what I'm doing. So what I will do, and what I have done, and it has worked for me, is, you know what? Every month I'm going to pitch 50 events. That's what I'm going to do. Every month I'm going to send out and pitch 3 podcasts. Every month I'm going to do 12 live streams. Because to me, if I do more of these things, they will slowly lead to my goal. Because what would happen before is that I would make these goals and like, okay, I'm going to have 60 speaking gigs. Then I would get stuck in how that was going to happen. Who was going to help me? What do I need to do? Where do I start? That's why I always do the journey goals. And I honestly do believe if you work on these journey goals, they will slowly, you will start seeing your progress, because this is part of that mental game. This is part of the mental game, so that say at the end of the year, you didn't get your 72 gigs, but oh boy, did you put in the work to figure out what it takes to get in front of these people. And maybe you only missed it by 20, but you never know. Some of these people will come back to you or a year later. So I hands down will recommend that you do journey goals. All right. So this is the second one, develop journey goals, not outcome goals. All right. If that doesn't make sense to you, let me know so I can explain it a little bit more. The third one is you need to become a master and not a seeker. And I kind of got this from reading for other things about how to stay in your mental game. Now, to me, the way I interpreted everything is you need to be a master of what you're doing. Be a lifelong student. Be a master of your craft. Keep getting better. Keep learning. Keep putting all that you have into it so that you can keep improving. And when you are a seeker, and we see this a lot with social media, when you are a seeker, all you are doing is putting up something, a post, trying to, I don't know, get attention, or trying to please others, or trying to get the approval from others. And that's where it can be really, really tricky. And I know with some of us with social media, we think it may be a little boastful or bragging, or what is the word my podcast hosts use? It starts with a V. Oh, vulgar. Oh, yeah. And this is a very thin line that all of us are using especially when it comes to social media, because it's a very thin line of it is kind of being vulgar versus seeking approval versus celebrating a milestone. But what I want you to do is not get into that phase of seeking approval from others. Don't get into that phase, because seeking their approvals can hinder your growth and it can hurt your mental game. Because if you keep seeking others' approval and it's not working, guess what? You're not becoming a master of your craft. You're not in a place where you can constantly improve. So I want you to stop seeking approval from others. And I want you to figure out ways to become better. And the other thing is, it's not so much seeking your approval. Get the advice. Go to people and see what they are doing. It's not necessarily seeking approval, but it's a very thin line, because if you keep trying to get approval from others, you'll be surprised that in 2 or 3 years, you'll be in the exact same place of where you started. All right. So that is become a master and not a seeker. All right. The fourth one, stay positive. That's it. A few days ago, and I'm going to link to the show over here, and is how to have a positive mindset. No matter what you do, no matter what is going on in the world, no matter all the crazy and all the distractions, you have to stay positive. You have to. You have no choice. I'm sorry. You have no choice. You have to stay positive, because it is easy. It is easy to go down a dark hole. If you need help, get help. If you need to talk to a friend, talk to a friend. You need professional help, do it. But this journey of trying to become a success with your business, with speaking, trying to travel the world, leveraging speaking, you're going to have to stay positive, because you're going to hit a lot of no's. You're going to hit a lot of roadblocks. There are going to be some days you're going to wake up and like, what the heck am I doing? That's why you have to stay positive. That's why you have to stay inside of this mental game, because there will be those days. Oh, trust me, there will be some days you will look back and say, you know what? I don't even know what I was doing here. I have no idea what I was supposed to be doing. All right. So I want you to really work on that. And I will link that show here. For those of you on Instagram, you have to come over here to YouTube, but I will link that show on how to have a positive mindset. All right. Number 5, get out of your comfort zone and get used to it. This is a big one, because everything we are talking about at this point, everything is all outside of your comfort zone. And you're going to have to get used to being outside of your comfort zone. And why I say that is because when you are outside of your comfort zone, that means you're growing. That means you're improving. You're mastering your craft, and you're slowly building that confidence. When you stay in a comfort zone, guess what? You will be comfortable. Guess what happens when we're comfortable? We eat cookies, we Netflix and chill a lot, and we're not worried about anything. And then we get upset with ourselves when we're not moving or progressing or growing the way we think we should, because we're probably seeking other people's approval and comparing ourselves to other folks. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone, because everything we're talking about getting on stage, there ain't nothing comfortable about getting on stage. There is nothing comfortable about trying to negotiate pay for speaking. There's nothing comfortable about negotiating pay for travel. None of this stuff is comfortable. I mean, you'll get used to it, but it's never comfortable. It's never comfortable. And that's why you have to always get out of your comfort zone. Because when you're trying to get in front of somebody and negotiate, and you say your worth is $10,000, you better hold the line. Hold the line. Because you will be uncomfortable and it will feel weird. But that's why you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you need to get used to it. You have to get used to it, because it's so easy to retreat back. But just get used to being out of your comfort zone. And the final one that I have is visualize where you want to be. Now, I know this is going to sound like, oh my gosh, Phylecia, you just said don't have outcome goals, but have journey goals. Yes, I did. And this is very different. Visualizing where you want to be doesn't necessarily mean that is, okay, if I don't do this in a certain time frame, that is all going to go to pieces. I think there's a big difference between goals, because goals have dates and targets and times, where visualizing is, I know for a fact that I'm supposed to be in Monaco on stage talking to 500 people. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to happen. But I know when I close my eyes at night and people ask me what's my dream, that is the dream. So I do want you to keep visualizing where you are. And everybody's visualization is going to be different. You may ask me and say, well, Phylecia, you're visualizing being on stage in front of 1 million people. Not really. My goals and my dreams are maybe very different than yours. This is why we can't sit here and compare each other. And our journey to using public speaking is going to be very different, especially when it comes to travel. So that's why I want you to visualize where you want to be and keep it in your brain, because one, this helps you stay positive. You have no idea how much this will help you stay positive. And it'll help you not get so caught up in everything that is going on. All right. So these are just a few tips that I have for you on how to prep your mental game. Of course, you can go backwards. I tried to get fancy with my graphics here. Hopefully it wasn't too elementary, but these are just a few things that I just want you to recognize, because a lot of the things that I talk about and a lot of things that we will talk about in the future when it comes to doing all of this speaking, growing a business, putting yourself out there and exposing yourself is not easy. And I know a lot of people try to make it easy and you're like, oh, all you got to do is this. Because I used to hate when people say all you gotta. And, and I may say all you gotta. And sometimes it's not that. It's not like that. Everything that we're talking about is you have to have a mental game, because the non-sexy side of everything going on, it's just non-sexy. I mean, that's it. It requires a little bit of work, slugging through some stuff, questioning yourself. And that's why you have to have this mental game, because when those days hit you and you feel like eating sweet potato tots covered in green chili with some cheese, and you don't want to get out of that, this is what you're going to have to say. You know what? We can have our moment, but let's get back into the game. All right, that's all I have for you. Hopefully this made a little bit of sense. Hopefully it'll help you. Hopefully I didn't sound too crazy. But a lot of it is from, some of the things that I've had to go through when it comes to trying to build this business and to get out there on stage. I've had to embrace a lot of this stuff. And I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. I want you to be a success. I want you to go through this journey of leveraging speaking to travel the world. It's an amazing journey. It is amazing. The outcomes will leave you with memories for life. But I also want you to be ready for the amount of work that you're going to have to do to get what you want. Like I said, you better visualize it and then get to action. All right. For my folks on Instagram, I'm going to sign off on you first. I was eating a cough drop, so hopefully it wasn't trying to fly out of my mouth. So take care of yourself, protect your money, get your mind in the game, all right? If you need me for anything, you know where I am. I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. All right, everybody here on YouTube, of course, if you need anything else, you know where to find me. Have an amazing day. Don't go blow all your money in the stock market. At least save some for some cookies. See you tomorrow.